This Noob is here. We're going to watch Noob's video here. All right, let's do this. Okay, now NOOBIFIER has posted a video in our Discord, and I want to watch it. And he's here live with us now. And he says, was the story good to Squadron 42? And he says, a veteran combats. Now, Noob and I have been involved with this project since the very inception. Very curious to see what NOOBIFIER has to say about what he saw from Squadron 42. What's up, Fairster?
Hello, YouTubers. This is the NOOBIFIER. I'm going to preface the entire video. Any thoughts or comments expressed in this video are just that, thoughts and comments. As a person who saw this demo first person in Manchester, it was clear that there has been what was promised last year, which is polish. There was more than 1 year's worth of polish.
Thank you, Hugh, for gifting Fairster. That was really nice of you, dude. By the way, sorry, Noob, we'll get right back to this. But by the way, on last night's Inside Star Citizen review, remember I was saying how bad the segues were at CitizenCon with that dude with the curly hair and the other girl? And I'm like, oh my God, these segues are so horrible. They need to either get these two off and hire somebody too new, or just like get more organization. That dude showed up last night on the stream live. So props to him for having the balls to take the criticism, because I said the same thing when he got in the stream. I even talked to Christy about it on the phone last night. And I told her, I'm like, the dude that I was criticizing and saying they need new people actually showed up on my stream last night. Props to the dude, though. Props to that dude. It was a pretty funny time last night.
Polish on display, so I am and I will continue to be a Star Citizen #1 fan. I cannot wait to play Squadron 42 despite the first act being basically spoiled, and of course, the release date. Trust me, the entirety of my entire criticism is just a sliver from a whole. The dialogue on the whole makes sense. The characters mostly say and mostly behave exactly how you'd expect them based on the situation. And as a viewer to the channel, I welcome you to your own thoughts about my thoughts. Tell me what you're thinking, but can you please maintain a semblance of decorum in the comments section?
Yes,
please, and
please.
thank you. We begin. My own background is relevant to the video. I became a member of the Canadian Army in 1992, and I remained there until 2022. When watching any science fiction, action, or military movie with anyone who is or has spent time in service, there's usually a periodic mumble, rumble, seat adjustment, or even a comment. And if you don't believe me, try watching Platoon or Full Metal Jacket with an infantryman or woman. Try watching Fury, The Beast, or hell, for that matter, try watching the third act of Rambo Part 3 with an armored crewman. You know that scene where Rambo is the only person in a Russian T-72 tank, driving, gunning, and everything from one chair. Soldiers can smell when something's off. Stolen valor is sometimes on the news, and as a soldier, it's actually super easy to detect it. You can see their headdress is off, their pants are bloused improperly, they may not be wearing the right t-shirt, their ribbons don't match their age, or other things on the uniform. Where did you go to basic? What's your trade? When did you join? The house of cards starts to fall, and the bullshit is on full display.
That's cool. I'm so glad he's putting that on blast, man. You want some realism, especially if you served, you know?
Rules and protocol to follow, but there's culture, and this culture becomes how you dress, how you speak, and over time, somewhat how you think. Small things like the weather don't bother you anymore, but witnessing insubordination, bucking, or disrespect really does strike a nerve. And I suppose my point here is that there's a continuity in the profession of arms. Don't worry, I'm going to end on a specific point to the narrative within Squadron 42. Soldiers always operate within a rank structure, and respect is commanded by its leaders. There are a lot of different ways to lead, which is called your leadership style. Some leaders are dead serious all the time, and others operate with a twang of sarcasm to break the tension, but they all always switch on when the time comes. When watching Squadron 42, I noticed some actions or narrative that were just a little bit off, things that wouldn't be said and things that wouldn't have been accepted, things that would have landed a person in the brig regardless of the situation. Movies and games of this caliber usually have a person on staff who advises or coaches. Full Metal Jacket is a classic example where Arlie Emmy was hired as a military advisor, but he was so good that they fired the other guy and made him the drill sergeant for the movie. It was estimated that over 75% of his dialogue was actually unscripted, and it is 100% believable because, as I said, it's hard to fake being a soldier. Command may
I didn't know that. I had no
be
idea.
given to an individual, but it's up to that individual to foster, preserve, and keep it. There's a constant in service that the leader never releases control, and the leader never allows those under their command to undermine their command or take it from them. So let's break down the demo. Right at the start, I love the intro with Henry Cavill. It was a little bit campy and made me think very much of the recruiting videos that you might see in World War II. Also, all of the radio banter back and forth sounded great. What's your sit rep is exactly how someone asks another, how are you doing, over the radio. You, the main character, are recording a short message before the big battle. Captain McLaren sneaks up behind the corporal and comments on something about the view. The corporal snaps to attention, and in general, all of this interaction works very well. The banter back and forth between you and your captain is good, and she never breaks character. A good leader knows their troops, even if there are hundreds of them. She offers encouragement to you, the corporal, before your second application to flight training. You move on and make your way to the turrets. The other turret gunners razz your character for not having your helmet. You guys are all the same rank. You'd probably tell them to F off, but it sounds like you're pretty new to this group, so it's fine. You would let it slide. There's a general announcement following a whistle. The crew is ordered to alert, and this works very well. It's normal and good for the captain to personally take these announcements during a main watch. Silent times or second shift, this type of thing might come from the XO, but this is all part of team cohesion, trust building in the leadership, and in general, a good sense of purpose. Some may think that it sounds like you're drinking the Kool-Aid, but that order needs to come from the leader directly, and it has a highly positive effect on the team, especially if that leader is well liked. A good leader can make you more okay with risking your life to achieve their mission. The petty officer or PO in charge of the turret battery speaks like a senior NCO. And yes, this is a real thing, the crusty warrant officer, and it's a very nice touch. He's a little bit more blunt and a lot harder on the corporal, only offering praise in the smallest of doses. The PO was probably a turret gunner 10 years ago, and he would be very hard to impress. The turret gunners were told to stop talking over comms, and then one of them had to have the last word. The PO threatened a mild punishment if the chatter didn't stop. Again, all of this was great and made me feel like I was on board. Admiral Bishop gave a rousing speech. He explained the danger in simple terms. He explained what the cost of failure would be, and then he proclaimed that there would be victory because they had no choice. Everyone would die unless they were successful. Really
Dude, I love how he's breaking this down. This is awesome.
Dramatic, but under the circumstances, the speech was good and would totally pump the troops up. We then cut over to Captain Wade and the Admiral, who are far back from the rest of the bridge crew, and they trade words and banter easily without using ranks or title. This is great and very believable. They are quite close in rank. There will be trust and respect, possibly even some friendship after working together for so long. The enemy forms up across the fleet, and Captain Wade puts the ship to weapons ready. He's the captain of the ship, and the
I noticed that these two also had that Picard and Riker dynamic. You know, like I felt the vibes.
Is in charge of the fleet. Technically, by rank, the Admiral is the owner of the ship, but I was happy to see that the Admiral never issued orders directly to the bridge crew, passages to be done in this manner as to not undermine the captain's command. Bishop holds fire until the Vandal take the first shot, and this is a bit of a movie trope where the good guys wait to return fire. Normally, yeah, this is just stupid. You would never give any enemy any time to get themselves more sorted.
So true. So very true.
They're already a massive threat, and you're already going to lose a bunch of people to them. Why would you let them deploy another 20,000 fighters into nice, tidy wings? You would capitalize on any advantage to kill the enemy better or sooner. So as soon as they would be in range of your furthest weapon, the shots would be happening. It would look like the 4th of July all over, but I suppose
this is total cinematic. This is the indulgence of being a director that has this view that isn't really hip to what goes on in war, right? These cinematic experiences happen everywhere in movies and games.
That it works to build tension for the narrative.
They do it.
Wave after wave, you're to take out enemy ships from your turret, and then we're back on the bridge for more story. The Admiral issues some commands to reposition parts of the fleet. The Scimitar is pushed to the front to test the enemy. He pushes another pair of ships to a different location, and this is what I spoke about before, where the team will follow orders even if they're being put into harm's way. Branches of the military are the only part of the entire government who abide by what is called unlimited liability. Firefighters, police, and such are all heroic on a daily basis, but the military oath comes with it a special clause. A firefighter will volunteer to run into a fire as part of their job, but they cannot be ordered into it. Members of the military, however, can be repeatedly ordered into situations which could result in their death. They volunteered for this, and it's seen as treason if you disobey. There are some limitations. However, And this little bit will be important later in the demo. Captain McLaren follows up the Admiral's speech with her own orders, and this is exactly what would happen to quickly bring the entire ship up to speed and explain what they are supposed to do, which is push forward to cover the flagship to protect Bishop. Quick and concise, and then your PO immediately reinforces that with your specific immediate mission as the turret gunner, which is to operate the turrets and kill all of the bad guys. The Vandals then fire what is basically a doomsday beam against a close-by capital ship. The crew on the bridge near the Admiral are obviously shocked, but in general remain cool. Captain Wade immediately issues an order for search and rescue to find any survivors. This is both a psychological and a practical order. The profession of arms will risk to achieve the mission, and I said troops will normally work better if their leader is generally liked. But knowing that when you risk yourself, the rest of the team will be willing to make every effort to come get you also goes a long way. That order from Captain Wade would have been broadcast across the entire command net, which would keep everyone updated that not only we had combat operations ongoing, but also to be aware of a SAR team operating near the lost ship. Captain Wade then commented to Admiral Bishop that this thing is chewing us up, but now he adds the word "sir" to the end of his sentence because they're now standing in the middle of the junior officers on the bridge. We get to my first minor nitpick. Captain Wade is issuing an order to his weapons officer on the bridge of not only his ship, but the flagship with the Admiral immediately there. This would never usually be a junior officer's position. This is the weapons officer, and that person would be on board with providing solutions in this battle. It's that person's entire function on that ship and something that they would have done for years. So when Captain Wade orders the weapons officer for a firing solution on the King ship, the weapons officer, instead of doing what is ordered, offers a quick question back instead. Is that even going to have any effect or something like that? I like Captain Wade, and that person is well written and performed very well. Captain Wade is forced to take time to reinforce his order to that weapons officer. I loved the fact that Captain Wade never raised his voice and he took the time to speak, because at his rank and position, this is exactly what I would expect. This is the first and last freebie from the captain. It's critical that the captain maintains control over his frustration. The rest of your crew is looking to you to get them through the battle, and that would not be achieved if you're off yelling at people. I suppose
you don't want your leader to be erratic or emotional in that situation. That is number one, what you do not want to see from your leader, man.
The observation in this case is that
I love how Noob breaks this down step by step. This is so cool. This is really cool.
Weapons officer would have or should have simply said, "Yes, sir." But because of this odd interaction, I suppose that we did get to see a little bit more of who Captain Wade is as a leader, a little bit of character development, so I understand. Admiral Bishop issues orders to drop shields the next time they're struck to make it seem as if they're more heavily damaged. Captain Wade then issues all of the individual orders to his bridge crew to achieve this, which is great positive control. Captain Wade, as I said, is written very well. His actions and effect on his crew is that of a good leader who has earned his place on the flagship. The flagship and escort take several beatings. Captain Wade then prompts the Admiral for a revised plan. The Admiral orders to stay course and hit them again, which is classic. The saying is you can't lead from the back, and the Admiral knows that he's in the most tactically significant weapons platform in the fleet, the biggest guns and the best protection. Captain Wade relays his orders to the weapons officer, who takes a total brain shit at his station, saying, they're all gonna kill us, and then basically does nothing. This is the second time that this officer has failed in the span of 3 minutes. Captain Wade pushes that person aside and fires the weapons himself and continues to occupy that station. Big guns shooting on big ship is exactly what the Admiral ordered, and this weapons officer would have been immediately dressed down by the captain and be ordered to stand near the back of the bridge waiting for security. That person would have instantly been kicked out.
Yes, sir! I was saying that shit too. I happen to remember this part when we were watching CitizenCon. I was like, "Get out of here! You're demoted! Get!" I even think I said, I was like, "Get!"
out of their chair, removed from their post, and escorted by security, then put in a cell. And if everyone survived the battle, that person would have been investigated and would be court-martialed for putting an entire solar system at risk, probably jailed or reassigned.
Seconds. In situations like that, seconds. In the real, you have seconds. And if you're like, you're out. You're done. Get the fuck out. You fucked up for everybody.
Everyone has a role, and the entire command structure demands orders to be executed without hesitation. Captain Wade continues to man the weapons for the remainder of the battle, leaving the weapons officer to feel like a total knob in his stupid blue chair, which was also a satisfying end state for him and for me. We got the main attack from
we're gonna shame that man. We're gonna shame him. Hold on 1 second. Public shaming for him. Public shaming.
Shame. Shame. Shame.
Squadron 42, led by Henry Cavill's character. All of this dialogue was on point. The plan evolved as the situation changed. The Retaliator pilot commented that their torpedoes would probably have minimal effect on the target. The team then adjusted on the fly and were ultimately successful. The King ship fired its doomsday weapon on the Admiral's flagship, taking out a huge chunk of the side, and I love that the Admiral asked for a status report and Captain Wade started talking about their ship's status. The Admiral interrupted him and said, "No, I want to know the status of the King ship." This is the difference of perspective as you go up in rank. The captain would be focused on ship, crew, and mission, but the Admiral is playing with a completely different set of requirements. He's trying to save the solar system, so yeah, his focus would be more focused on inflicting maximum damage. And this little bit made me smile. Captain Wade.
Yes, very good point. He's playing chess, right? There's different tiers. There's different tiers of rank and what the rank is focused on. So very good point.
Reported that the shields on the flagship were in fact down, and that shitty weasel of a weapons officer had the balls and audacity to cheer and celebrate from his stupid blue chair. This would have been a great opportunity for Captain Wade to sort this officer out and remind him of how much shit he was actually in. All the captain would need to do is make direct eye contact and say nothing. You can see how insubordination is really built into a soldier's brain, right? So we're going to move on. The Admiral told the bridge crew to settle down and focus on the battle. The Vandal make a convincing counterattack and maximize the confusion by performing some boarding operations. The King ship makes a run to ram the flagship, and it's unavoidable, and that gives the Admiral an opportunity to tell the bridge crew they can evacuate or volunteer to remain. And this is good for the narrative as it reinforces how likely it is that they'll be dead. But he would probably never issue this order. Unlimited liability is what we all sign up for, as I explained, and he actually needs 100% of what's left of his ship and as much of his crew as he can get. Captain.
This is a beautiful breakdown. I absolutely love this approach. I love your approach here, Noob. This is so cool. With your experience and how you're breaking this down. This is so immersive listening to this. It's like watching it for the first time again. Aether says this breakdown from Noob really illustrates how good a job Chris and Sig have done right in producing this script. There's a couple parts where they kind of drop the ball for the cinematics, but yeah, in terms of like the relationships with these officers and how they act systematically, how they're supposed to act in serving, yes, absolutely. And what Noob brings to this, so awesome. This is also why I like the Machinima series from Nate. He gets into this, like Nate gets into details like this when he's actually making his Star Citizen Machinima as well.
Wade continues to man the weapons station, leaving the weapons officer to continue to feel useless off to the side. And this is why usually that person would be escorted to jail, even in a full-blown battle. With everything everywhere blowing up, we're then transported back to our player, the turret gunner. The ship is toast. People are dead or dying, and it's up to you to repel a Vandal boarding party. The sequence is really good, and it makes you fear and respect the Vandal. For the next 20 minutes, you fight them, you fight some fires, you fight space, you fight zero-G push-pull mechanics, and then you arrive at the bridge. The only person on the bridge is your captain, Captain McLaren, and she has the drop on you with a fully loaded SMG. Realizing that you're part of the crew, she explains, "I thought I was the only one left," and then casually says, "Look, I need you to help with something. The ship has no power. The captain will restore the power and you will pilot the ship." This little bit of loose dialogue removed me and my immersion a little bit, and it reminds me that I was in Hollywood and not on an actual ship. The captain of the ship is convinced that her entire crew is dead and that the ship is a total loss. There's no way her guard would be down and that her tone to a corporal would be so casual. She is clearly not given up. Years of service would kick in. Her spoken words would be orders directed to achieve what needs to be done. Her sentences would have all ended with the word corporal, and this is not a really big deal deal, but I do feel that the writing somewhat fails the actor. By changing this a little bit, it would have seemed more authentic. The bridge is about to be attacked by an 8-foot-tall assault party. The captain receives a direct call from the admiral questioning them and ordering them to fall back as ordered. She quickly explains how totally effed up the ship is, how everyone is dead, and that she plans to crash all 10 million tons of it into the enemy. The admiral reluctantly accepts, but he does reinforce that he needs them to make every effort to get to an escape pod. And then he simply uses her first name, saying Rachel. This was so powerful. By breaking rank, he gets her full attention immediately. This break in character over the radio would be very jarring for her. It would stick and linger in her brain, reinforcing how important her survival is to him. Bishop is written and acted so well, and this super tiny detail fully locked me into the story. Captain McLaren then explains her goals to your character and issues you a new set of tasks, which is to take the SMG and defend her so that she can achieve her goals. She ends with "Go now," which is a much better and more believable end to an interaction. The shit has totally hit the fan and the bridge is assaulted. Your captain takes a fatal wound and passes a final order over to you to get to the escape pod. Your character in this case chooses to disobey, and you both make it into an escape pod with seconds to spare, and then we fade to black. So, overall, really good. Thoughtful and deliberate script. Characters that mostly act and speak as expected in the situation, and I guess I'm still pretty upset with that weapons officer. He should have been sorted out on the spot and launched into a prison cell somewhere. Some of the dialogue for Captain McLaren should have been a little bit tighter, but I think that Gillian Anderson is a great actor and provided a great, strong lead performance. As I come to the end, we will say that Hollywood seems to be hit or miss lately. The new Penguin show, for example, on HBO is a great example of great writing combined with a great story executed by great talent. And then on
Dude, the Penguin is a masterpiece, man. I am so locked into the Penguin. It is ridiculous, man. Ridiculous. I don't think I've been locked into something like anything in so long. I did not expect this from the Penguin. I am so in love with that series.
On the opposite end of the spectrum, Disney has had trouble hiring writers who understand the basic building blocks of good storytelling. And that's as far as I'm going to go into that. If the rest of Squadron 42 is constructed with this level of care in the story, then I'm very happy and super excited to enjoy it for at least a couple playthroughs. Following the development of these two games over the years is a roller coaster of emotions, but at least this very important aspect receives a gold star and chef's kiss seal of approval from me. Comment your comments in the comments. If you would like to do a react to this video, please feel free. I will never copy strike any other content creator ever.
Awesome.
We should all be
That is so refreshing to hear from NOOBIFIER, and I really appreciate that. That is
allowed and safe to explore content in our own way. Please share this and continue to watch the channel from time to time. I hope you enjoyed it. Fly safe.
Yeah, it's really great to hear this perspective, this viewpoint from somebody who has served. I absolutely loved the presentation. The criticisms that I saw, there was a lot of negative kind of comments that I don't know, maybe I'm just kind of hyper focused on the negative lately, but I noticed a lot of people that were like, oh, the prologue's so long and there was barely any gameplay. If I knew when this came out that they were going to have a huge prologue to this, I knew it. Chris is a director. He wants to have a cinematic experience. He wanted this title is the first in a very long time. He wanted to come out guns blazing. He wanted a long prologue. And yes, the gameplay actually during the prologue was not that much. It's like an introductory tutorial, the way it was supposed to meant to be. I think that a lot of the negative content I've seen from content creators regarding Squadron 42 is misplaced and misguided and done from the perspective of people that don't understand where Chris has come from in the industry. And we can see now the attention to detail is definitely there. From Noob's point of view, as an officer, somebody who has served and saying, breaking this down so beautifully, like, dude, I think personally this was a home run and I'm willing to wait for it. I know people were upset because, another 2 years, another 2 years, another 2 years. I think 2026, it's where the shit hits the fan, the rubber meets the road, and everybody knows it. All the veterans, all the people like Noob and I who've been supporting it this long, I think we all know to take 2026 seriously. I think we understand that is the deadline. I think that Chris knows and Cloud Imperium knows, those that work for Chris, know that if they don't deliver 2026, then there's really, at this point, you're going to get veterans like Noob and I upset. Like if you do not deliver 2026, that's at the point where even veterans like Noob, and I'm speaking on Noob's behalf, but you know, me primarily, I would be like, okay, this is craziness. Get this shit out. 2026, you gave us the date now. And then like, I think to take it seriously, I think to take 2026 now as the deadline, we all take it seriously. The oldest of the old, the veterans, we know 2026. No exceptions. We can see the work that's being done. We can see the polish that's being done. They actually played the game. I saw criticisms that said, oh, well, they weren't really playing the game. Yes, they were. That was the game. They were playing it. It crashed. They were playing the game. You know, there is a large section of people spreading misinformation because clickbait, because monetization out there. And it's just refreshing. It's refreshing to see content that's done this way by Noob. Thank you, Noob, for doing this. And also really awesome of Noob to say, hey, listen, people want to react to this. I understand. No copyright strikes on this. That is super awesome. I think people who have been doing this a long time, like Noob and I, understand that when people do gravitate towards this content and they do react to this, and by the way, I'm enhancing. I don't react, I enhance. People that gravitate to this type of content and give out these criticisms and these points of views only add to the value of the communities that they're showing them to, both in my community, both in Noob's community. It's a positive thing. So great on you, Noob. Glad to have you here on our live show this morning, watching this with us. I think the input is super important, and I'm glad you approached it this way. I really thought that was very refreshing, and I happened to really enjoy that. Very immersive. It was like I was at CitizenCon again, dude.